Welcome to Going the Distance podcast. It's Ruben. I'm at the home studio here, and Ryan is not here. So this podcast, I guess you could say, is a little bit different because I'm doing the intro solo, and then Ryan is doing an interview solo. Ryan found, actually, scratch that, Ryan didn't find it. Our cousin David sent us a video clip of this little boy doing the Rocky training sequence. Then Ryan found the boy's father, and they had a phone conversation. They had an interview. It's a pretty darn cute little video. So if you haven't checked it out, that's fine. Listen to it. Listen to the podcast, and then go online and check out the video. It's a fun little interview. It's amazing how much Rocky has influenced generations after generations after generations. So cool that it's going on to the next generation. Here's the interview.
While your call is completed, long distance charges may apply.
State Crest, Debbie speaking.
No, it's actually Ryan. Is Zack around?
Yes, hold on a moment. Hello?
Hey, is this Zack?
Yeah.
Hey, it's Ryan Rebalkin calling from Victoria, British Columbia. How are you doing?
Good, how you doing?
Good. Well, it's good to get a hold of you.
Yeah, you too.
Where do you work? What's the name of the company? Because I think I might have messed up my hello to your operator there.
The name of the company's called State Crest.
Oh, you know what's funny? I thought she said, hey, Chris. She goes, hey, I thought she said, hey, Chris, it's Deb or something. And I'm like, no, it's Ryan. Can I talk to Zack, please? And she just passed me through to you without any response. Like, oh, it's probably some drunk guy or something. But
I gotcha.
You know, I don't talk this way. I'm just a little bit punchy, you know.
Oh, no, that's fine, man.
But so I got a lot of questions. I don't know what your time's like, but we don't have to drag this out for an hour, but we don't have to rush it either. I did have a few questions about how your video came to be.
Yeah.
Sorry, you work at State Press? Did I get that right?
Yeah, State. Yeah, S-T-A-T-E. Yeah, State Crest. Yep.
Oh, State Crest. Okay, what do you do there, if you don't mind my asking?
We're a flooring wholesaler.
What does that mean?
We wholesale like different like flooring, carpet, tile, hardwood.
Oh, floor. Okay.
Yeah, flooring. Yeah, we're a wholesaler.
Okay, I was gonna ask you if you work down at the docks or something like that. But...
Oh no, no.
Now, how old are you?
34.
Okay, and I'm 40. Just to give you a.
Okay.
Okay, so, all right. So the questions I think that were rolling around my head. Number one, that when I saw this video. Number one, the video is awesome. It's adorable. It's cute.
Thanks.
But I'll tell you, it made me a tad jealous.
Why is that?
Well, because I have kids, and I like to think that I'm the hugest Rocky fan. And I'm like, why didn't my kids bless me with a viral video with my love affair of Rocky?
It was really, I guess, kind of, I don't know, like, he's been doing it for a while. He's been doing it for the last few months where he's really kind of got the moves down, and everyone kept saying, you got to post on Facebook, and mainly just for family and friends, because we would tell him all about, you know, how he loved this Rocky training video, and he loved to train with Rocky and stuff, and we kind of said, yeah, we'll do it. We never really did it, and my wife's sister, this was probably 2 weeks ago now, recorded it the one day she was over there, and threw it up there on Facebook, and you know, everyone started commenting on it, whatever. And my brother saw it, and he said, "Well, I want to post it too." And I said, "Well, go ahead." I said, "That's fine." So he ended up posting it. Well, his post is the one that started kind of taking off originally, and about a day later, it was when it really kind of started taking off. Well, of course, my wife, being the overprotective mother she is, she says, I want to take it down. I said, why? She said, I'm getting anxiety over this. I just can't believe this. We post this for friends and family to see, and she goes, and now it's like it's going all over. So my brother took it down for her because she was getting all stressed out about it. And last week, my brother calls me and he says, "You aren't going to believe this." And I said, "What's that?" And he said, "Charlie's still on Facebook." And I said, "Really?" And he said, "Yeah." He says, "There's this German boxer and has this Facebook page, and his name, I believe I'm pronouncing it right, Dennis Lebeau. He goes, his video of Charlie is on his Facebook, and it's got over 3 million views right now." And I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" And he goes, "No." And he says, "I don't know if you want to tell Melissa or not," which is my wife. And I said, "Oh boy." I called her and I told her, and I said, "Look," I said, "let's post this back up." I said, I have so many friends and family texting me, calling me, messaging me on Facebook saying, "Where did the video go? We wanted to show our friends, and we love this video." So she says, "Okay, you can go ahead and post it back up." So I posted it back up. I didn't really think my video would even get the response that it's gotten. And next thing I know, I've looked this morning, and my video's at like 1.3 million views, and the boxer, he's got, I think, 12, and then I'm looking, all these other Facebook pages have taken this video. I mean, it's like, I guess, I don't know, it's funny, but it's kind of weird at the same time. Never would have thought that a video that we were posting for our family and friends would take off the way it did on Facebook. So, I mean, it's really cool though. I mean, it's exciting, and it's cool to see, but yeah. So I guess that's kind of how it happened.
Okay, well, we'll back up a little bit. I guess, are you the Rocky fan? Is your wife the Rocky fan?
No, I'm the Rocky fan. I mean, Melissa, she likes the movies, but I'm a diehard fan. You can ask her. I've seen, God knows how many times I've watched every movie, and anytime it's on, I gotta watch it. So that's me, and that's actually how he started kind of getting into it. He was about 1.5 years, and it was on one day. He was taking a nap, and I started watching it. And it just so happened that he woke up. She brought him down and put him on the couch next to me for a minute. And the training scene had just started on Rocky 2.
Right.
And so I figured, you know what, I'm going to watch it through, and then because that's like one of my favorite parts of the movie, of course. And
right.
After that, I'm going to turn it off and play with Charlie. So I let it go through. As soon as it was over, he asked to watch it again. He said, more. And I'm like, "Oh, okay. Well, let him watch one more time." And went through again and went through it, watched the 2-minute clip again, and he was just like fascinated with this thing. So it kind of grew from there. He's used to we have a little thing in the basement where I work out. I watch some videos down there, and he would come down when he was little and watch me do it. And as he got a little bit older, he would try to mimic some of those moves. And I think that's kind of what got him on there. And as he would watch the training part of the video over and over with me, he would slowly pick up on that. And actually, the part that he really did first that was not even on the video is the running scene after that training part of 2, where he's doing the running with the kids and up the stairs.
Yeah.
When that was all done, he would run around the house for, I'm not joking you, probably 15 minutes straight, and he'd say he was running like Rocky. So that was actually the first part, and then as he got a little bit older, he kind of started putting those moves into that scene, and kind of went from there. But I mean, I never taught him any of those moves. It was funny. We'd laugh. He would start just doing one move on his own, and a month later, he'd ask to watch the video again, and let him watch it, and he'd put a second move into it, and it just got down to the point where he had it down pat. And it was incredible to watch him do it, and he loved it. I mean, he loves doing the little exercises, and he loves working out, and he always says he's working out with Rocky and how much he loves Rocky. So I'm glad that I've hopefully passed down that love for Rocky, hopefully, so as he gets older.
Well, I think you did, and I think that's amazing. So did you play Rocky? I guess my question is, as I'm watching this, because I'm a parent, I'm thinking to myself, I know what it's like to put TV shows on for kids, to put the iPad in front of them. Now, how many times did he see Rocky 2 to get to the point where, I've seen the movie, obviously, a lot of times. I'm doing a podcast on Rocky.
Right.
I love these movies, and I just never thought to myself, I'm going to put the training montage on in front of my kids. How many times does you would, as the parent, have to set this up for him?
Right. Oh yeah. And he would ask. Like I said, 1.5, he really wasn't talking. But my wife is a speech therapist, and what she did is when he was little, she would teach him simple words by signing. So he would sign the more sign to us when he would want to watch Rocky. We knew what that was. After the first couple of times, he would make the more sign to us. We knew that's what he meant. He wanted to see. We would kind of set it up. Now, I'm going to say this because I know my wife makes sure. He has very limited TV time. My wife is very, very strict about that, and he does not watch any other part of that movie. He doesn't watch any of the fighting scenes. He doesn't watch anything else. It's the only thing he watches on there are those training montages. But I don't know. I mean, like I said, it's probably been about a year since he first saw it. I don't know. I want to say maybe he's seen it over a year, maybe 30 or 40 times where he would watch that video. And like I said, it comes and goes. He would watch it, maybe once one day, and a couple of days later he'd ask to see it again, and he'd maybe watch it, 2 or 3 times one week, and then the next week he wouldn't ask for it at all. And then the next week he might ask for it another once or twice. So over that year, I don't know. I mean, if I had to guess, I'd say 30 or 40 times he had seen that scene. Usually it's if he sees me working out or something like that, he instantly wants to do that because I think it's like, for him, it's like his own little workout regimen that he's doing.
Now, does he watch montages, or is it specifically Rocky 2s that he likes?
No, I've shown him like 3 and 4. He does like 3. He does like the 3. The other ones though he really hasn't watched that much, maybe a handful of times. But he likes the third one. I don't know, for whatever reason. I think he really gets into Apollo Creed in the third one. So he likes that one. But Rocky, oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, you're going to have to go to the beach and find another baby for him to dance with in the water.
Oh yeah, he loves that part, and it's funny because in that when they slow it down at the end when they're doing the slow mo running on the beach, he tries to do a slow motion run in place as it slows down. I mean, he just wants to try to mimic everything he sees on there. But yeah, he's definitely by far the number 2 training montage is definitely what he is his go-to.
That's hilarious. That's funny. Well, I think number 2 in many ways is kind of I wouldn't say it's the best montage in the sense of, but I think I get why he likes it, because if I'm going to psychoanalyze this montage, because it's strictly just training. Like the whole part of it is just one set of exercise after another. There's no cutting away to Drago, and there's no.
Right.
It's got the most training aspects of all the movies of just strictly training. This has the best. I think it's probably the best montage of training.
Right, and I think you're right. I agree with you there, and I think that's why he really likes it. And I think too, what really kind of hooked him in is at the beginning, like when we first started seeing it, he really liked the part where he would see those other little kids running with Rocky.
Right.
And I think it kind of, he saw these kids with him, and I think it kind of, in a way related with him and being a little kid himself, and he really, really got into that. So yeah, he really likes it, and I think he enjoys the music to it too. I mean,
there you go.
I have Spotify on my phone, and he will literally listen to the Rocky soundtrack with me in the car. And
of course.
He's obviously now to the age where he's talking, and we'll sit in the car, be driving, and he says he wants to listen to Rocky, and we'll put on the Rocky soundtrack and cruise around and let it go, and he just sits back and loves it. So I think the music in a way probably kind of hooked him too on that training montage. But yeah, he's definitely a big Rocky fan for 2.
That's awesome. I mean, well, the music really is everything. I can only imagine what it would sound like if that theme didn't exist. Who knows? Right,
yeah, and he's a big outdoor kid. He loves to be outdoors, and it's funny because he constantly runs around the neighborhood, and he says that he's running like Rocky, and it's just all the time we're outside he wants to run like Rocky, and every once in a while if I'm with him I'll put on the song that's playing while he's running from Rocky 2 on my phone while he's running, and he just gets a kick out of it, and he just keeps on going and going and going. But he loves to run outside constantly, and I think he has really learned that from that video, because he always says, I'm going to run like Rocky. I'm going to run like Rocky. So
now I was going to say earlier, if he needs speech therapy, I maybe wouldn't recommend him watching Rocky, but
I know, right? So far, I think we're okay, but it's like I said, he's only 2, so he's still got a long way to go. But so far, I think he's okay, and thankfully, if he does need some, at least we've got Melissa to to work with him on that. But yeah, Rocky probably isn't the best one to take notes from on that.
I know Stallone plays it up a little bit when he's doing the voice of Rocky, but I just thought that was funny. Like, oh yeah, my kid needs speech therapy. Let's put Rocky on for him.
Right, exactly.
So, when did you first who introduced Rocky to you then? Like, who's
actually my dad did, and that's why I kind of think it's really cool that he's gotten into it, because it kind of reminds me of being young and watching those movies with my dad. I remember the first time watching those and just being absolutely hooked and fascinated with them. And like I said, I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was just everything, the training and the music and the plot, and just, I don't know, but whatever it was just absolutely hooked me. And when I was a kid, and I just remember watching the first one with my dad, and it was like, I told him, we got to watch the second one now. We got to watch the third one. I want to see them all. And I can't tell how many times we probably watched those movies as well. I mean, it was a lot.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I have a similar story. I'm just 6 years older, but same idea. I saw Rocky 3 in the theaters. It was the first one I saw in the theater. And I just remember being that tender age of, I think it was like, oh boy, 8 or 9. So right when wrestling was big with Hogan, and so it was kind of a mixture of everything in my life as a kid, with wrestling and boxing, and seeing these two things collide on screen. It was just bigger than Star Wars for me.
Oh yeah, it was awesome. Like you said, 3 I think really interests me too, because Hogan, same thing, big back in the old school WWF, Hogan and Ultimate Warrior and those guys, and I remember seeing Hogan in that movie, and it just fascinated me that he was in this movie with Rocky, and I'm like, wow, this is really cool. And even then, to see Mr. T in there, I mean, I knew who Mr. T was and seen some stuff with him. Obviously not as big with Hulk Hogan, but I mean, that Rocky 3 really hooked me on there too, being younger, just to see Hulk Hogan, to see a wrestler into this boxing movie and everything. And I mean, it was awesome. And it really, I think what really got me was Rocky 1. You're so used to seeing the good guy always coming out and prevailing at the end, and to see him go the distance, but he doesn't win. I mean, I kind of like the twist they threw on that. I mean, you said you're used to seeing the good guy. The underdog always comes back, and he always prevails. And in this movie, he doesn't. And to me, it's more of a real. They put more of a realistic spin on that movie, and I really like that about Rocky 1, and it really set it up perfectly for Rocky 2 then to come back and to kind of get his second chance at it. I really like how they did that.
Yeah, I think we probably saw the viewing pretty much the same way. I don't know if my dad showed me Rockies 1 and 2, because back then we didn't have a VCR, we didn't have home videos. It'd only be what was on TV at the time, and I would have been too young to see. Obviously, I would have been just born when Rocky 1 came out. Rocky 3, that being said, was the first one that I saw too. So I think it was the first one I saw. It was the first one I remember seeing. So I, like you, when I went back and saw Rocky 1 and 2, I was like, what? He lost?
Right. Yep.
But he's Rocky. He can't lose. Yeah.
Exactly. And and that's it's when my wife had never seen movies until we had met, and she was the same way. I said, you got to watch these with me. You got to watch these. And and when we watched the first one, she said the same thing. She goes, he lost? And I said, yeah, he lost. How can he lose? I said, because that's the movie. I said you got to watch the rest of them. You'll understand. I said it's the whole thing, and just take it in and let it go and watch the rest, and you'll just understand how this all plays out. But I mean, I was born in '82, and I was probably about 10 when my dad showed me the first one, 9 or 10 probably, when my dad showed me the first one. And then like I said, so at that point, he had a bunch of those VHSs and things like that. So as soon as the first one was over, it was like, let's pop in that second one. Let's check it out.
That's awesome.
So,
yeah, I've done the same. I've got 2 teenage boys, and they've enjoyed the journey with me. It was kind of cool, my life coming full circle. I took my teenage sons to Creed.
Oh, wow. That would be cool.
And so that was a pretty cool experience as a father to kind of make it that long to say, hey, here's my childhood hero on screen with my kids. And they'd seen the first 6 with me, of course, but no, this was their Rocky movie on the big screen. So to be able to make it to that point was pretty cool.
Yeah, and it's I think it's really cool that movie has really just as they've gone into the next couple of generations since then. It's cool that it just continues to just hook generation after generation on that stuff. I don't think you see too many series like that where you really get everybody on board, and I think it's great that you see the younger kids that are just as excited about it 30 years later as it is now. So it's pretty cool.
I have a neighbor who saw me. She came over. She saw me working on my podcast, working on the editing. She goes, "What are you doing?" I said, "Oh, I'm working on editing." And she goes, "For what?" I said, "For a podcast." And I'm like, "Well, here you go." She's gonna ask which one. She goes, "What do you do? What kind of podcast do you do?" And I said, "Well, I do the Rocky movie." She goes, "You do a whole podcast dedicated to Rocky?" And she looked at me incredulously, like I'm an idiot, I said, "Well, believe it or not, there's a lot of fans out there who love Rocky. Like it's well, not a lot. There's millions and millions. We look at the views alone. I would suspect. Do you think your views would have been viral if Rocky was a failure as a franchise? Well, no, of course not.
Right? No, absolutely not. And what I think I've learned from this whole thing since it started is I never realized how big he is, like over in Europe and things like that. I mean, I never realized the following over there, and it's huge over there. I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, some of the messages I've got on Facebook, I mean, hundreds and hundreds of Facebook messages from people over there and saying how they love the video and they love Rocky. And I'm like, I realized that I'm sure there's a lot of following to that movie, but I never realized how big he is even over there. It's unbelievable how many people really follow that series and just absolutely just love it and know everything about it.
Well, he really is. Stallone is really a worldwide star. It's crazy. The character Rocky has touched every country, every part of the world. It seems like we get listeners from Europe. There's listeners on our podcast. We don't know, like, of course, their names or exact addresses, but we get the countries and the parts of the countries they're from. Mm-hmm. And there's countries that I've never heard of. I don't even know how to pronounce their names.
Right. It's crazy that you think it makes it, that it makes all the way out there to some of these countries, right? That you've never even heard of, and you're like, man, it's everywhere. I mean, he is everywhere, and it's awesome. And I think part of the thing too is with that movie, it's after you. Even when you're feeling down, you had a bad day or you had a bad week, or whatever. It's like you watch one of those movies, and at the end of that movie, it's like you can go out there and you feel like you can conquer the world after that. It's like just completely motivates you to go out there and do what you need to do. It's one of those, I think, rare movies that really just motivates you to do whatever you want to do.
It is crazy how everyone I talk to, and on our podcast, and my brother and I do this podcast together. The motivation part that you're talking about. How he was able to tap into that idea of motivation. Like, I don't know, did he know what he was going to do when he did this? Because name another movie or anything that has motivated people other than the Richard Simmons workout tapes. There hasn't.
Right. And you're right. I mean, if you look at it, I can't think of, and I want to say I've seen, that I'm pretty, I've seen a lot of movies. I mean, I'm not one of those guys that doesn't watch movies. I've watched a ton of movies, and you can't really think of anything like that. And like you said, not only does it motivate you, you see these workout videos and you watch this guy do what he does and the music, and you think, man, you know what? As soon as I'm done with this, I'm going out there. I'm going to go out there and run 10 miles. I'm going to go, Not only that, but like I said, at the end of the day, too, it's like it hits you on a whole nother level, too, with just like your life. It motivates you to think, man, I could do this, I can do that. And it's over a movie that really, at the end of the day, isn't even real. But it feels so real when you're watching it, even when it's done. It just has this effect on you that it feels real, and it really just affects you outside of that. And it's like you said, it's just something I think so rare, and especially in movies that it has that kind of effect on people. But it's something so awesome at the same time.
Yeah, I'm amazed by Rocky and Stallone and what he's created. I remember when Creed was announced. I will say the first time and I should know better. I have to repent of this. when I heard that Creed was announced, I was actually legitimately worried.
No, I agree. I was with you on that. I mean, I was excited, but I was a little bit worried too.
I was like, oh no, Stallone, you're not going back to this well again. Rocky Balboa was such a sweet, nice ending, kind of
right.
A wave to the crowd, a wave to the, everyone in the stadium. There was a wave to the audience. Thank you for the journey. And I'm like, there's nothing else you can do with this guy. And I was, well, like everyone else, this movie was just amazing, of course. And in fact, every scene that Stallone was in was the best part of the movie.
Oh yeah, I mean he makes those scenes, he makes that movie, and I mean it was like you said, it ended up being a great movie, which was awesome because when I'll never forget when I saw the trailer online one day for Rocky Balboa. I mean I about passed out. I'm like, no way, this is really happening. I mean I was so excited, but again, like you said, at the same time, even then, I thought, gosh, I hope this turns out well. I mean, especially after Rocky 5, it was like. Everything was so well, and you hit Rocky 5, and I mean, I enjoyed Rocky 5. It just wasn't what the first 4 were.
Right. I love the hate the Rocky 5 gets because we haven't gotten to it yet in our podcast because we're going to the movies in order. But I almost can't wait to talk about it because I think it gets a lot of stuff dumped on it that shouldn't get dumped on it. But
I agree. I mean, you hear so many bad things about it, and yeah, it definitely wasn't one of the greatest of the whole Rocky series, but I enjoyed it, and it was a different twist to it, and could it have ended better? In my opinion, yeah, but at the same time, I still enjoyed it, and it was a great movie, and with Rocky Balboa when that hit, that ended up being a great movie as well, and I loved it. Like you said, I loved when he ended. I'm like, man, he ended this series on a great movie, on a great note. It was what a way to go out, and then he does Creed, and that was just so great too. So I mean, it was awesome to see that.
I'll tell you, for Rocky 5, I think it would have been probably considered the best movie, if not like one of the second best movies, if they ended the movie with a fight in the ring.
I agree. I agree. The whole street brawl and everything else was, I don't know. I just
like don't change anything in the movie. So when
right,
let's say when Buddy comes to the bar that Rocky's in, and he calls out Rocky, and Rocky says, when George Washington Duke, remember that dude? He says,
"Yep,
we only fight in the ring. If Rocky said right at that moment, this is the first time you said something that I agree with, and then he says, we'll fight in the ring, we'll set it up, and then he just walks away, and then like cue 2 months later, whatever, they're in the ring, and teacher destroys a cocky student, like almost like a Rocky 3 ending, and
right."
Everyone would be like, okay, hey, because Tom becomes a big guy, and he finally smacked that attitude out of his mouth illegally in the ring, and then he hangs up the gloves, says I'm done.
Right. No, I agree with you. That would have been a whole nother take on that. I think would have been great. Like you said, to see the teacher and the student going at. I mean, I think it would have been. It was a good concept. It was a good idea.
But I don't know. I wonder why they. Yeah, it's weird because I guarantee you we would not be having this conversation. In fact, I guarantee you, here's the irony though, is if it ended on that kind of note, I don't think we would have had Rocky Balboa because Stallone himself said that he gave us Rocky Balboa because he himself was upset with himself that he upset the fans so badly that he wanted to rectify that.
Right, and that's what I read. I had read that, and I don't know, and I read this online, and like I said, who knows if what's online is true or not? But there was a piece I read online about Rocky 5 that they claim that actually the ending, one of the endings they were contemplating was actually having, I guess, Rocky die in that street brawl.
Right.
Whether or not that's true or not, I don't know. But that's something I read, and I thought, man, you can't do that. How can you have this icon? I mean, for the last movie and this ending, how can you have this guy die? You can't. I mean, he's an icon. You can't have that, So I was glad it didn't end that way, whether or not there was any truth to that. And I loved how they put on 6. As much as it would have been cool to see Adrian in there, I got why they didn't do that. You know what I mean? I mean, if Adrian was still around, it was like really he really had no reason to fight. I mean, you could see like the pain and everything that he was going through. and without her, and you could kind of see without her that was his release, in that movie, and if she was still alive, I guess, it wouldn't have been played out that way. So I understand, I guess, kind of in a way why he did it. Or at least that's why I think. And I think as cool as it would have been to see her in there, since he had Paulie and he still had Spider Rico in there, and it was cool to see a lot of those original characters back in there. But I guess I can understand why he didn't bring her back. And I thought, at least on my opinion, I thought that was kind of a good idea on his end, a nice twist in that movie to put that out, and it really made that kind of movie, like you said. I mean, it really touched you. I mean, he, for a big guy, to see some of those scenes where he's tearing up and crying. I mean, it sits there, and I teared up. I mean, it really hits you, and he really plays it well. I mean, and you really feel his pain in that movie. And I mean, it was great. I mean, I really thought that he did a great job on that Rocky Balboa.
Yeah, there's not one Rocky movie where I don't tear up in some scene. Even Rocky V. Well, Rocky V has one of the most tear-dropping scenes of all the series. Can you guess which one I'm talking about?
You tell me, which one are you talking about?
The where he has the flashback of Mickey, of course.
Okay, I would say that's really my only one that I could think of, and it is. I mean, it's a nice flashback, and then it's sad. It is sad. I mean, to see him and he's just kind of standing there looking out and into just into nowhere, and you see the flashback and you see him talking to him and telling him all those things. And it is. I mean, it's really, to me, that was one of the high points of the movie. One of my favorite part of the movies.
Yeah, that's definitely probably the highest point. I can't wait to talk about the movie because. For all the things that people do hate about it, I understand. But I honestly think that we only talk about hating that movie because of the ending itself.
Right. You're right. I mean, really, at the end of the day, that movie as a whole, I thought was a good movie. It just, I think, the ending was a little disappointing for a lot of people. But still,
it's like having a Star Wars movie with no lightsabers.
Right. Exactly. I mean, not to say that I'm sure Rocky couldn't street brawl, but it just wasn't. He was a boxer. I mean, you saw him in the ring. That's what he did, and to change that all the way through until the very end, you finally changed it up. It just was kind of different. You weren't used to something like that, and things like that. So I think that kind of, like you said, kind of put the downfall near the end of that movie. But still, you can't deny that it wasn't still a good movie.
I got a question here before we close up. If your wife watched Rocky One with you and she said, "This is the stupidest movie I've ever seen," would you still marry her?
Of course. I mean, she's amazing, and I love her to death. But it definitely would have been a strike against her. I mean, she would have broke my heart if she said that. And she's not much of a movie person, and I really was legitimately a little bit nervous because she doesn't get into those type of movies, and I thought she's going to watch this movie, and at the end she's going to tell me that she enjoyed it, was stupid, and at the end she was kind of the same way that I was when I was with my dad when I was little, and she said, "We got to see the second one. I got to see what happens." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, thank you."
Yeah, you found a good one. Yeah, well, I did the same thing with my wife. It's like a litmus test. Is that the right saying? I wanted to see because I think it actually, believe it or not, and I don't care if people disagree with me on this, but I think it's a little bit of a character test. Because I find the people that don't like Rocky and quote unquote make fun of it and they mock it, they have a different personality that I'm not, quite frankly, they're a different personality. It doesn't mean I'm better and they're worse. It just means their personality, I find, is just different than mine. It's not as compatible. That kind of thinking, the person that mocks Rocky usually isn't the type of personality that I'm around.
No, and that's true. That's really true. I mean, I look at the guys that I hang around with and everything like that, and every one of them are huge Rocky fans. There's not one of my friends that would sit there and say, "Oh, that was terrible. I can't stand those Rocky movies. I can't stand Sylvester Stallone." And you're right. So it seems like those people that really get into those movies have those same personalities and really relate to the other people that that get into it. And it's funny that you say it because it is true. I mean, I can't think of anybody that I really hang around with that could tell me they don't like that movie.
Well, you hang around with coconut friends. You hang around with coconuts. You have coconut friends or something like that. Remember that? You hang around with lemons, you become a lemon.
Right, exactly.
Well, Zach, boy, this has been great. I want to make sure I think of every question while I've got you on the line. You've been very articulate, very great. We talked to a couple of people from your neck of the woods in Ohio and Pennsylvania and that area. You guys don't sound the same. Am I talking to the same person every time? Because
yeah, I guess we do all kind of sound the same out this way. There's not a huge difference. So
you hear a little bit of the hey yo in your voice. Did you know that?
You hear that? You said?
Yeah, I do kind of hear that. So I think
maybe Rocky's played a little part in that. Then I don't know. I'm watching it so many times.
Well, I don't know that neck of the woods very well because I live out here in Western Canada. But I'm wondering now. I guess those two states of Pennsylvania and Ohio in that area, I think Stallone, he must have mimicked the accent a little bit and then just played it up.
Maybe I don't know. I guess that's something he could have done. But yeah, I mean, you gotta love that accent, though. I mean, he plays it off perfectly in that movie. I mean, and just some of the things he says and the way he talks in that movie just cracks me up. I mean, that really helps with some of those scenes. It just makes them even better.
Yeah, well, of course. And I love how in some movies, we'll close with this, but I love how in Rocky 3 he's pretty articulate. In Rocky 4 he doesn't really talk, but then Rocky 5 he's dumb again,
Right, exactly. It's like he's gone back to 1 and 2. He's gone backwards now. Yeah.
I always said that the money in his bank account somehow reflects his speech ability.
That's right. There you go. That's true.
But this is when you become a Rocky nerd, when you start noticing those things. You're like, that's what I love about it. I love that the movies aren't perfect, that they're kind of silly in their own right, but boy, they're fantastic all around.
Oh yeah, they're awesome, and you can watch them a million times and they never get old. And
no, they don't.
Over and over again, and it's almost like I want to see what happens again. Like you don't like you really know, but you want to pretend like you don't, and you so you watch it again and again and again. But it's just they're great. I mean, they're just great movies.
I have another neighbor that knows I'm doing the podcast, and she actually listened to my podcast before having never seen the movies. And so she actually just watched Rocky 1, and she really liked it. And then I said, well, I'm going to watch Rocky 2 in a couple of days because I have to talk about it. And I want to make some notes so I don't forget anything. So I said, why don't you watch it with me? It'd be kind of fun to watch it with you to see your reaction type thing. She was so stressed out during the final fight, she couldn't handle it.
See, that's a good Rocky fan right there. She's that into that movie that she can't even watch it.
She says that she will never see it again. She says, I can't watch that fight again. It's too stressful. And it's true. I've seen obviously Rocky 2 1,000 times, and I still can't believe that Rocky gets up. Like I get stressed out during that count.
I know, right? It's just winding down, and you're just sitting there. Like I said, because you don't know what to expect, and you don't know if he's gonna make it, and that's what makes that movie even greater. It's awesome.
Well, this has been awesome, Zach. You've been a great conversationalist. I was a little bit worried because you never know who you're going to contact, and I'm like,
I know, and I appreciate it. And hopefully I didn't talk too fast. My wife said, "No, when he calls, you always talk too fast when you get excited. So don't talk so fast, okay?" And I said, "Okay, I'll try to remember that."
Yeah, some people when they listen to podcasts, they turn the speed up 1.5, so they're going to hear our voices. Right.
Yes. I already talk fast enough, so that's going to be that's not going to be any good for me then.
No, you sounded good. I'm the same way. I talk fast and I mumble, and I try to podcast. My wife says, "You mumble." I'm like, "I know." So I try very hard to articulate my words when I talk because, like you, I talk fast, and when I go to edit my podcast, I spend too much time editing my slurred speech sometimes. But hey, well, I'll send you the link and everything. Then when we have this up, and
okay,
I think I gave you the link to the podcast already.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, thank you. Yep.
Yeah, well, take a listen. Tell me what you think of it. I'd like to hear your thoughts.
I actually listened to the whole podcast yesterday, and I really enjoyed it. It was really cool to hear some of the things that he had to say, and some of the stories, and I'm definitely going to listen to some more now that I know you guys do that because. Definitely gives me something to do and hear some of those interesting conversations. It's really cool.
Yeah, well, the episode 1 starts off with us talking about Rocky 1, and just bear with our amateur everything. But we talk about things that people will hopefully love, and I think you'll get into the conversation in your head. I think you'll like, as a Rocky fan, I can't imagine you'll listen to what we talk about and think, oh my gosh, what are they talking about? But
oh no, I'm sure I'll love every minute of it, and I'm gonna try to get my wife to join me on those too, so she can listen to some of that stuff. I think she'd get a kick out of some of that.
all right, well, I'll get this one out. If not this week, next week, brother.
Okay, sounds good. I appreciate it.
All right, have a good day at work, and thanks for taking this call. It's been awesome.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity.
I feel like I'm talking to an old friend.
Thanks a lot.
All right, we'll talk to you soon, brother.
All right, see you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.